On Good Friday, there's only one theme. It's the theme of the cross. The problem with that is that there are many, many crosses. Like, just look around the church. Which cross are we going to focus on? I'm going to present to you 5 crosses. And I'm going to suggest to you that they form a journey, and that you start at one end and hopefully you work through to a more personal, special understanding of the cross. The cross is a journey. My first cross is a crucifix. And it's too small for you to see. So I suggest that you turn around and look at the back window. That's what the crucifix is. It's the crucified on the cross. And as you look at the window, you get a sense of the incredible horror of that event. Like, we're going to read the story today of beatings and nails hammered through your body, the whole scope of human inhumanity to man. And yet that's where it starts. It's the first step in the journey. And it says here in my notes, you will never understand the value of your suffering until you understand the horror of Jesus. And that's true. It's a strange thing that the journey begins so negatively. But one of the things I've learned in my life is that unless a person encounters a major life crisis and is able somehow to walk through it, they never become wise or strong. And that's where this begins. It begins at the worst moment in the life of Christ, and possibly the worst moment in my life or your life. My second cross is the cross of power. It shows Jesus nailed to the cross in the robes of a priest in the church and with a crown on his head. And he's not looking in pain, he's just looking at me, or he's looking at you. This is not a cross that you often see in churches, but there it is. And it means the power of forgiveness. Jesus on the cross is not suffering here. He's saying, I've done the job. I've made it possible for you to come to the cross and receive forgiveness. This is the cross of confession and absolution. It needs to blow through your life with freedom from guilt and concern for judgment. Because unless those things are answered, we can never be happy, deeply, or peaceful. The third cross is the cross of beauty. And I have one here that you can't really see because the flowers on it are made of the same wood as the cross. So I look around the church for a cross of beauty, and I picked this one that hangs over us all. It's Frank Baxter's cross. If some of you knew him, he was a parishioner here for years and years and years. And like the first cross is in the window, the third cross stands at the front. I don't want to look at that cross every Sunday, but I'm happy to look at this one every Sunday, because it speaks of the movement from death to life. It speaks of the change which comes to a person when they're able to walk out of sin and guilt and find forgiveness and then rejoice in it. It becomes a beautiful thing, and that is a beautiful cross. My fourth cross is hanging on this cross, and it's a picture. And I invite you, after the service, to go and look at it. It's the most profound presentation of the cross I have ever seen in my life. It's only a print of an original. The original was painted by my wife's art teacher, Marta Breskovansky, who came from Hungary. And during the war, when the Nazis took over Hungary, there was no food. And the parents gave their children newspapers to eat. She knows something about struggle and death. You will see that the dying face of Christ is right at the center of the painting. And then on the side is the crucifixion. And then below it, two people kneel at the foot of the cross. Bob and Mary, husband and wife, brother and sister, whatever you need them to be. And then, when they get up from the cross, having been on the journey of the first cross, the second cross, and the third cross I presented, they have to move into their life. And there are two archways at the bottom left, and you have to choose one. This is the cross of choice. One of them has the cross in it, and it means you haven't finished with it yet. Now, in a sense, we never finish with it, but you finish with it for this moment or this time, so you can move forward. It's the archway of unfinished business. And on the other one, there's nothing in it except a golden light. And it's the journey of the person who has walked through the fourth cross, the cross of choice. Where do I go with my life now? And the fifth cross is empty. This cross is made of walnut. I cut the tree down that this was made from, because the tree was in the backyard of the rectory, and we wanted to expand the parking lot and connect it to the parking lot on this side so you could drive around. And you're all familiar with that. But this tree stood in the way. How often does the cross stand in the way of stupid human plans? I'm not saying that the parking lot is stupid. I cut the tree down, got permission to, and I sold it to a Bavarian carver, a neighbor of ours. And he used the heartwood for all kinds of beautiful carvings. This is not heartwood. It has the deep walnut here and the edge wood here. It's an imperfect cross. And it's a cross with nothing on it. Because you put on this cross your cross. You may be at the position of having a crucified Jesus on it. You may be at the position of having the forgiving Christ on it. It may be a cross of joy and beauty for you. Or it may be the cross of choice, as in the picture. But because it's empty, you make with it what you want. During this service, you have that opportunity. If you don't take it, you can't celebrate Easter. How can you celebrate Easter when you haven't been to Good Friday? And this is really an Easter cross because it's empty. It's empty of the body of Jesus. Because as you go through that journey, he's no longer dead for you. But it's imperfect. Because my relationship to Jesus will never be perfect until it's over. Journey on with Jesus in order to have a wonderful Easter.